Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us on our first webinar of 2018. My name's Claire. I'm the marketing manager at WebVine, and I'm joined by our managing director, Marcus. Good morning, Marcus.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Well, you can't answer, but you can actually in the Q&A, which I'm sure Claire is going to tell us how to do that in a minute. But first,
yes, more importantly, our wonderful guest, we're really excited to have on board for this webinar, Sava Politis. He's the end user computing team lead at Santos, and he'll be sharing his digital workplace thoughts and experiences with us today. Thanks for joining us, Sava. How are things in sunny Adelaide?
It's not that sunny today. I think it's about to rain actually, but a bit humid. How are things over there?
looks all right, bit cloudy, but it's quite nice. The humidity has dropped, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Marcus's hair has been really unmanageable.
All right, well, we were going to get right into it because we've got 30 minutes and we definitely want to share as much of Sava's wisdom from this intranet launch and in creation of this intranet with all of you guys.
Absolutely. And as Marcus mentioned earlier, if you do have any questions, please do click on the Q&A button at the bottom, hopefully at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to your questions as best we can, either during or at the end. So to kick off, Sava, if you could please tell us about Santos, your staff and vision and purpose of the company.
Sure. Okay, so for those that don't know, Santos is an oil and gas explorer in Australia. We have probably about 3,500 staff across multiple office locations in Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney, Perth. Of course, we also have field staff to get the oil and gas out of the ground. So we've got quite a diverse user base because we've got people that are out in the field with not much network connection or slow network connection, as well as your corporate workers in the office. And in terms of revenue, we're probably like over 2 billion per year at the moment. So we're quite a big company. Also have a footprint in Papua New Guinea. So we are international. And we've been using Sharepoint now for about over 15 years, I'd say.
Going way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you guys presenting, at some big SharePoint conferences a good number of years ago about the well.
Which is what we got rid of, yeah.
Yeah.
With your help.
Right. Well, at the time, it seemed it might have been, a bit flavor of the month all those years ago. Actually, I can bring it up. Here it is.
That's it.
Excellent. So if you could tell us about some of the challenges and opportunities that you were trying to address with your new intranet project.
Sure. Okay, so good that you brought it up. Thank you, Marcus. So for back in the day, no shade on the well. It was a good design, even architecturally was good. But over time, things changed. People influenced the internet, so our governance perhaps slipped. And what that meant is we got more text on the screen, and as you can see, it's not really too intuitive. There's a lot happening. So we got a lot of that feedback from the users and actually used that as our KPIs to really build a better intranet. And as much as it was good back then, we needed something really slick, responsive, and more visual, really.
And you mentioned you have a lot of users out in the field. Did they have trouble accessing the original version?
Look, it wasn't too bad. And we've got a policy at Santos that whenever you click Internet Explorer, this is your default homepage. So you always go to it. I'd say the main issue was that we had SharePoint 2010 on-prem, but we could not access the intranet from mobile device. So if someone was use case, someone was on the road and had to quickly check a safety standard, he couldn't get to it, she couldn't get to it from their phone. They'd have to maybe have a copy of it or wait till they got to the office to check out a procedure or a standard. And that's the sort of thing we want to resolve with the launch of Discover.
Yeah, and were there any other things what else was there that you guys wanted to overcome? Obviously, there's an impetus behind each time someone does an intranet refresh and wants to do something new. This had been at Santos for quite a while. Were there any other key drivers behind the change, and why now? Like, why did you do it at this time?
Yeah, so why now is a good question. and that's one that the users always ask first, like, we understand to change, but why now? We basically have Office 365 already. We moved all of our email exchange onto O365. So that was considered our phase 1. So phase 2 is then, of course, looking at SharePoint. And on our roadmap was intranet followed by extranet. So that was the why now, because the technology is ready. It wasn't really bleeding edge like it was a few years ago. There are more people on there. And in terms of why, what we did is, as much as we knew that we had some issues perhaps with search on SharePoint 2010, we had a lot of content. So to give you some context there, I think we had, I think it was around 800 pages or so on the intranet. So of course, governing that is difficult. People found pages that were either wrong or had missing information. And that also adds in, there's documents as well. So when you're trying to search for something, you've got so many documents, so many pages, of course, search experience is not that great. But we validated that. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead here, but this is called, if you're doing a Six Sigma, it's called the voice of the user, right? Voice of the customer. So what we decided is, let's validate our preconceptions. And we did a user survey across the company. And we, of course, had buy-in from our executives to do so. So we ran I think it was open for about 2 or 3 weeks to accommodate our food staff as well. And yep, there we go.
Users.
Yeah, so a range of questions, just saying, what works well, what doesn't, what could you improve. There was a really good one, which is if you had one magic button for the intranet, what would it do?
That's a great one.
Yeah, instill some creativity into the questioning. So some people were like, give me a button and I don't care, or for others were really, really good. So what that brought out, to get back to your question, search, of course, was number 1 for people. They were saying it's junk, it's crap, it's not that fantastic. So number 1 is, why is search bad? Too much content. So it's cleaning it. It's making sure we've got good governance practices, making sure that if people own a page, we make sure that they are responsible for the page.
Because IT was carrying a lot of that burden, weren't they?
Yeah. So what when we launched the Well, we had HR, public affairs, etc., all these areas that would be owning it. But of course, through employee attrition, people or power users would leave, and then the default custodian is IT. So it's about making sure that ongoing, everyone does own their own area. If you do a little RACI or Reiki model, everyone owns their own area and are responsible for it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So to kick off your project, Santos went through quite an extensive search to find the right vendor and the right participants in your project. Could you tell us about how you went about that process?
Sure. So we had a really tight time frame, and so all the project staff were actually operational staff. Okay, so this is a pretty big undertaking. So when I did the schedule, I realized the actual selection part was going to be the hardest. So I made a call to buy the, is it Clearbox Consulting?
Clearbox. Yep.
Clearbox, the Intranet in a Box report. So purchased that, which was a good grounding for us, because it had screenshots in there. It identified the differences between the different offerings. So you could say, oh, well, that one's more customizable, or that has cheaper price point, etc. So we used that as our basis, put it into a really big Excel sheet, and developed our own weightings. And from there, started the down select process, where we'd go down from, I think there was 22 in that report, plus a few others that we had looked at. Went down to a probably top 10 to have a discussion, then a top 5 for a demo, and of course ended up with NGO and WebVine. Yeah.
And what was do you know the key reasons for that, Sava? Some of the key reasons that you end up choosing NGO?
Yeah, so Santos, of course, we wanted a new slick intranet. And in saying that, we didn't want to look like everyone else. So what we said is that we had just recently completed a new branding. So, branding colors, etc., logos. And as part of that, we're reinventing ourselves.
For the group.
For the group.
Yes.
For the whole of Santos. So what we thought is, let's do something that works for us, taking in the voice of the customer, voice of the user, plus our new branding. Let's deliver something really slick.
Oh, let's show everyone what it looks like.
Ah, good idea.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So this is a fully customized design just for Santos. So we had an external designer that Santos always works with, work with our team to know exactly what we wanted to deliver. Why do we pick WebVine? Because not many of the other companies could do a custom design. A lot of them that we looked at was, you could pick this template or that template. And these are the two costs or colors. So fully customized, a lot of the bigger players got knocked out, and yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And I think you mentioned before as well that we're Australia based, so we're a Sydney based company, and that also tipped a little in our favor, I think. But look, tell us, maybe you could, is it time, Claire, to look at the homepage? We're here.
I think that would be great.
Okay.
So maybe Sava, maybe you could tell us a little. Obviously, it's responsive, so when you resize the homepage, it resizes to your device and that. But maybe if you want to start at the top and tell us a bit coming down through the page as to what's here and why it's there. Sure.
So a mega menu got reworked, obviously. That was also from the survey results. We incorporated some of that. Oh, that's better, thanks. So what we did is just sort of you can't actually see what's in the mega menu, but that's fine. We just sort of rejigged it so, our corporate governance. So we had a new corporate governance being rolled out. So we had, minimal number of policies now, procedures, really streamlined. The whole company is running lean, essentially. Low oil barrel price, right, really lean. So our SMS in the middle there is our Santos management system. Really obvious for people to get there, really quick to refer to. And if you're on the road, so the use case I mentioned before, you're on the road, bring it up, click on SMS, find the policy procedure, whatever it is, and you're ready to go. Yeah. Below that, so going down the page, stocks and quotes. So we had a feed or a ticker on the intranet previously, but we wanted to incorporate a few more bits and pieces.
Oh, I think there's a slide that has a bit more detail on that one below.
Does it? Yeah.
This one down. Is
that
it?
So
okay.
You can see, you've got the arrows on the sides, because what we wanted to do as well is bring to light, we're about safety, oil and gas, we're about safety, and we take it seriously. So we decided to have a traversing banner. This was a last minute call, as you know, Marcus. So, we'd already engaged a separate vendor before we'd picked WebVine to do some data warehousing. So, obviously you guys partnered with them so we can make sure that it all was responsive, looked really good. And I think the end result is fantastic. So users can really easily just flip between the stock price or have a look at the stats. And they then, of course, link to a much larger and detailed BI report.
So this data for the stocks and quotes is coming from a totally different system, right?
Yeah, so the stocks and quotes is a feed with a separate company. The EHS data is internal data that Santos holds, and that's fed through a data warehouse and displayed here.
And that's just, if you don't know a lot about SharePoint, if you're listening, it's a great key benefit of SharePoint is you can actually access data from other systems and display it and make it look how you want to present it as well, which is a really powerful thing to do. Instead of people having to log into all these different systems, it can just be presented right on the homepage to the people that need to see it.
Yep. Maybe just jump back to the previous one. Yeah. Okay, excellent. I'll run through this quickly. So we've of course got our corporate news there. What's fantastic now is that we can actually like and comment. Now, if you don't mind, I'll just quickly digress here. So when I mentioned the survey before, one of the things that came up was that as much as there was good communication with the well, it wasn't two-way. So with launching this, we can actually have a more fluid conversation. So you can leave your comments. We have a workflow that sits behind, which means if someone makes a comment, even if it's on an older article, our corporate affairs team will get an email notifying them and they can respond, whether that's via email or of course, just commenting back.
Mm-hmm.
So that adds the social benefits here, which is really good.
Yeah, and it looks like people are using it too. That's really encouraging.
23 likes.
Yeah, and you guys also had a particular, I remember as well, because so like with Ingeo, we have, news module and announcements module, and we have kind of standard ways. We have a few ways of implementing those, but we always say, well, you can do whatever you like. So if you want to present it differently, you can. And I know you guys had, so if you're creating a news item, you can decide when you're creating it, which part of the screen it should appear in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we've actually got two news areas here. So the one below that is a safety area, so safety news, which is broken out separately. And we've had a great response to all of this. By the way, it's fantastic.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to configure it to your people's particular needs. Not just being stuck with some standard way of doing something. Okay, so shall we keep going down the page?
Sure.
What we got here?
Okay, so on the right, what sort of split on the right was just latest announcements, which is it's basically an area. So if there's something that's not particularly newsworthy enough to go as a corporate news item, then we've allowed our power users of each area to be able to post a latest announcement in the news and alerts area. So as you can see there, what does it say? New Adelaide Gym timetable. Probably doesn't need front page news, but it's something for people to be aware of.
And normally that would have been communicated by email or something before?
We did have a similar thing called latest announcements, but it was just so text heavy that people didn't look there anymore, which is a real shame. So we just wanted to keep it really clean and within the sort of top frame of the screen. Yeah. Okay, and so those four buttons there, which are sort of like the promoted links, like whenever you hover over it, sort of lifts up. That's obviously key links that people need to click on. So people go to the field, they need travel, so all the travel information is at their fingertips. At the bottom there it says applications, a really key one. So what we decided to do is it's part of the user survey. We've now also got an applications directory. So WebVinar helped build that, which is a whole directory of all the applications at Santos. You can search for it. It's free text search, so it's really amazing. We've also got a forms one as well for all of the forms. So that also is something we delivered to the users they asked for.
Great.
And probably the best part of all this is this Discover Social area, which is that that's an Ingeo module, isn't it?
Yeah, we have Facebook, Twitter, Yammer. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a Twitter down below.
Yeah, so you can.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So another one. So everyone loves that the CEOs is now more personable. Not that he wasn't before, but now he has the platform to do it.
He's got a channel.
He's got a channel, yeah. So people just click on Twitter, can see what he's posting while he's visiting Pilbara or Narrabri, trying to improve operations there. And not only do they get that personal connection with him, they're also updated about exactly what's happening. Sometimes you're like, why is the exec C-suite going out there? What are they even doing? Now you know. And it's live at your fingertips.
Yeah, we've seen that. That's why we kind of introduced these modules. We've seen for communications or for companies internally, people don't quite know what the company is communicating to the external world. And so we just wanted to be able to pull in the company's Facebook posts, the company's Twitter posts, so that, without any major effort on anyone's part, they can let everyone internally know what they're communicating externally, and it just kind of happens by itself. So you're finding that works well at Santos, then there's a good response to that. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, we were hesitant because our company is predominantly engineers, geologists, so real scientific based user base, and probably not as we're not Google, we're not Facebook, we're not a real we're not a software development company.
Yes.
And we were worried that there would be a negative sentiment with this, like, look at you millennials. I'm not a millennial, by the way, and it's a really positive thing that even people that might have not liked that sort of social side of work really enjoy going in here and getting updates as to what's happening.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's
Fantastic.
excellent.
And I'll go back to the bottom of the page. So then further down, we've got the footer there as well. So that was particular for you guys as well.
Yeah, this is great. So what we've got is at the bottom left, we've got the recent headlines, which means that wherever you are in the intranet in Discover, you can click through any of the news articles that you might have missed, which is great, or click view all and go to all of them. But the key thing is, if you look at the popular pages, what we did here is I went on the well and got all the analytics of what was popular, what was clicked on the most in terms of hit rate. So we knew, all right, these are the key areas that users want to access, and together with the user survey results, we said, I can't find X, all right? Example here being, DOA was a bit harder to find. So we said, all right, this is what people are currently clicking on and getting really good use of, and this is what people can't find. This is what we're going to put in the footer.
Fantastic.
Put those in there.
And just a tip there as well for people, if you are planning, maybe you're not planning to create a new digital workplace just yet, but if it's something that you're hoping to do in even a year or two, get your analytics happening. Try and get Google Analytics or something on your intranet right now, so you can start to capture that data. Because we often come across clients and they go, oh no, we don't have any data. We haven't turned on any reporting, and then we're guesstimating what's actually popular or what's not. So it's good if you can just switch that on in advance. It'll help your upcoming project a lot.
Especially if you're going SharePoint online, because they took away the SharePoint analytics. So you guys set up the Google Analytics, and I had a look, and it's amazing. Yeah, it's really good.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just conscious of time, gentlemen. We might want to move along a little bit. Is there anything else you want to highlight before we leave your lovely Discover intranet?
No, I mean, the only thing to probably say is, can I cover some of the challenges?
Yeah, well, that was my next question. You
Excellent.
anticipated me. Thank you.
Okay. So as much as it went well, some of the things we got stung by is, we're in Office 365, and to be honest, I became a bit complacent about testing. We'd done quite a bit of testing. We're like, okay, this looks good. The week before we went to launch, Office 365 changed with a new sign-in experience, and that meant that people had to click on the username every time they went to log in, and it was just horrible. So all I'd say is if you're going SharePoint Online, Office 365, frequent testing, and you have to adopt an agile PM perspective. Just always be quick to make those changes.
Yep. And testing on all devices as opposed to just at your comfortable PC.
Yeah, all devices, iPhone, Android, the things you don't own, get your hands on it and just keep testing. Yep.
Yeah, and that's just around, that's definitely around the sign-in experience. I mean, just for Ingeo perspective, we've noticed over the we've had it now for a while, and generally nothing kind of breaks. As long as SharePoint works, it works fine. But certainly the sign-in is even before you get to that. So yeah, you want to be checking that and making sure what's Microsoft up to around that space.
Yeah, good advice. Once you had launched, and probably before launch, Sava, what strategies did you use to drive user adoption?
Okay, so as we mentioned, we had to clean up the homepage. To do that, it means that we had to get rid of links. So what do you do with them? We had to use magic links, which is another reason why we picked Ingeo. They're really good. So strategy was to sell to the users, and it was true that they could customize their own experience. Okay, I think you had it before there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep. So we said, because they'll say, oh, I want to link to this, I want to link to that. I'm like, yeah, you don't even need us anymore. You can do it. So this is really great for them. We created user guides that were available for them on Discover, and people just going off, making links to Gmail, to their banking, and to policy procedures, whatever it may be. So this helped us reduce the text-heavy homepage that we once had, and gave people an avenue and a different way of working, which is fantastic.
Great. And we've got some good news for you, Sava. We also have, so you've got this ability to quickly add links and you can access them from anywhere, and you can quickly add links to any documents that you see. And now we're also adding in the staff directory, if you want to favorite someone, you're going to have your magic contacts as well, we say.
Oh,
So you
wow.
can have your 10 or 20 people that you contact frequently, and they can just fly out and just contact them quickly. So that will be coming to you soon.
Cool.
Okay. So Claire, you want to?
Yes, okay, moving right along. So are people generally happy with your intranet? What kind of feedback have you got so far?
It's been really good. So I was expecting, I've been on intranet projects many times before. I was saying this is the best go live I've ever experienced. So really good feedback. That's not handy for you though, so I'm going to think of some of the negative things. The biggest things that came back, I'd say is, and this is really a change management issue, okay? It was, I used to do this, I don't know how to do it on Discover. I used to click here to go to our Oracle ERP, where is it now? So it was that transitionary change management that was probably missed because we were running so fast with everything. And we probably did the change management at the end instead of during the project, which is much better. So I spoke with the corporate affairs team. I said, look, we need to make some articles to the whole company saying, all right, this is how you used to work. This is how you work now. Something for them to reference so they can orient themselves because they didn't know what to do. That was probably the main thing. But other than that, it was really positive.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure people feel informed, like they're part of the process up front. So it sounds like you kind of got there eventually.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, really happy with it. And I think it looks great as well. Look at that. It's great.
Yes, number of devices. So have you found that the IT guys who were previously having to manage all these pages and respond to all these requests, are they saving time?
We don't really do much anymore. We do basic SharePoint support, permission issues, whatever it may be. But right now it's all, anything content based is for the stakeholders to manage themselves. Yeah.
We've got a question. Sue from UBT had a question about the survey that you sent out. Maybe if you could we kind of already did cover that off, Sue, sorry. We'll get back to you separately and cover that off with you offline while we cover up the rest of the content. We've just got a few things to go, which is mainly somewhat around the kind of title of the webinar was, what advice, Sava, would you give to people who have only a short time frame to launch their intranet? What were some of the strategies and the tactics that you employed? And Marcus might want to jump in here as well to ensure that the launch was quick.
Sure. Okay, so if you break it down, we've got your requirements first and analysis. If we're looking at that particular section, what we do? It was purchasing that ClearBox report. So we didn't have to do we didn't have to recreate the wheel. We had something to start from, number one. Number two, the user survey. Why guess the requirements when you can actually get them from the user? That's another huge one. And number three was looking at looking at data, if you can get your hands on it, of the current experience. So going back to the well, what do people use? What don't they use? Put all those things together, you got your requirements. That was the fastest way forward for that section.
Did you find there was any difference between what people said they wanted and what the qualitative data supported?
Well, I mean, you can't please everyone. So we did get a few people coming through saying, where's this, where's that? But if you look at it as a 80-20 rule, I think we hit it all really well. Yep.
Yeah, great. And just for anyone watching who's not familiar with this whole concept, there's products now like Ingeo that's like a ready-to-go intranet, like it's a ready-to-go SharePoint intranet. So you can be up and running quite quickly. And with our one, you can completely tailor it to whatever it needs to be for your organization. And so Santos really took advantage of that. And it's quite unique. It's very unique for you guys, as no one else has an intranet like this one. So you don't have to start from scratch and go through an arduous process that takes a year long to have an awesome intranet. You can be up and running really quickly, which is great.
Yeah. And sorry, just to finish off that question before, of course, agile project management is a necessity. So working with WebVine, it was, we met every 2 or 3 times a week with WebVine. in the beginning, and we had our own stand-ups and just kept running over things every day. So you have to have an agile perspective, or you won't deliver it in time.
Yeah, if you have a really hard, you guys had a really strong deadline, right? So we just had to hit it really hard. But other organizations have a bit more time, and it can take a bit more time. So it depends on what you need. Or if you guys were also coming from, as you said, masses of information, a huge number of users, lots of data to try and figure out. Some companies we deal with, they say, look, all the old ones just rubbish. We're just going to start from scratch, which is much easier.
Yeah, of course.
Start fresh. Yeah.
All right, I think we're kind of out of time. That there was one question from the audience, if I could ask. It was about the search functionality. You mentioned that was a central core of the goals for this intranet. Just wanted to know a little bit more about what practically changes were made from either your side or our side, Marcus, to improve the search.
Sure. So number one is clean up. So you need to deprecate old documents where you can. We didn't do this ourselves. We identified them and gave them to each area. So I'd say, HR, these are all your documents, clean them out. So you have to delegate. Okay. So we did that primarily, clean up your own area. And then beyond that, it was just looking at what people search for. So looking back at the data, what they searched for, and of course, use a survey, what people couldn't find. So then we made sure that the things they couldn't find were more obvious, more easily accessible for them from both mobile and PC.
Yeah, and just from my side, with Ingeo, there's like 3 key ways of finding information. And one is a mega menu, which is quite tailorable and configurable, and that's very handy to get people that just want to navigate and know where to go. We have the magic links feature, which is awesome, so you can have all these shortcuts to everything very easily, so people rely on that quite a lot. And then search, so we've configured Sharepoint search as well to be more friendly and more intuitive and easier. And we work as well, to make sure, are there search refiners? So just like when you're searching Google and you might say, I just want to see videos, I just want to see images, and you refine, we help to refine with refiners that are applicable for your organization, that makes sense to your people. So that means you can quickly, get down to the results that you want. And if you do that well, then you need to think about search up front. It can't be an afterthought at the end. You need to have a strategy up front, and then it can be very successful.
Okay, I think that's all we have time for. Any further comments? Okay, thank you very much again for everyone for joining us, and thank you so much, Sava. We really appreciate your sharing your experiences. I think that people will have a lot of useful takeaways. If anyone has missed any of our webinars previously, on ingeo.com there is a video gallery, so you can watch them at your leisure, and we will also send out the video for this particular one afterwards. So thanks everyone, and thank you, Sava.
Thanks, Sava.
All right. Thanks guys, that was great.
Thanks a lot.
All right.